Structure of retail transaction datasets. Retail analytics starts with understanding how transaction data is organized. A clear dataset structure helps answer questions about sales, customers, and inventory. Knowing the data layout makes it easier to calculate revenue, identify trends, and make better business decisions. In this lesson, we will practice exploring, cleaning, and analyzing retail transaction datasets for real-world e-commerce insights. Running the cell now. We import pandas for handling retail datasets. We import numpy for numerical operations. We import warnings to manage warning messages. We suppress warnings so our output is not cluttered. Running the cell now. Practice. Try importing pandas and numpy in your own notebook. Core concepts: retail data structures. Retail datasets track transactions, products, customers, and orders. Metrics like revenue come from sales price times quantity. Orders usually have multiple line items, one per product per order. Common beginner mistakes include not handling missing values, misinterpreting quantities or prices, and using the wrong groupings for aggregations. Running the cell now. We load a real online retail transactions dataset from UCI. Each row records a product purchased in a customer invoice. We make sure the date column is the correct date-time type. We print the dataset size to check the number of transactions and columns. We preview 3 example retail transaction records. Running the cell now. This output shows the initial snapshot of our retail transactions dataset, revealing over 500,000 rows and 8 columns tracking key details like invoice, product, quantity, price, customer ID, and country. Notice the invoice date is converted to date time for accurate time-based analysis, and each invoice includes multiple line items, illustrating how orders are recorded in detail. This sets the foundation for understanding the structure before calculating metrics like revenue or grouping data by orders and customers. Practice. What does each row represent in this dataset? We list the column names to see which types of information are included for each retail transaction. Running the cell now. This output lists the key columns in the transactions dataset, revealing it tracks orders, invoice, products, stock code, description, quantities and prices, quantity, price, customer info, customer ID, and transaction details, invoice date, country. Noticing these columns helps ensure future calculations like revenue or customer analysis use the right data fields, which is crucial to avoid common mistakes with missing or misinterpreted data. Practice. Which columns represent product details? Which ones are about the customer? Now we create a synthetic product catalog for our store. Each product has a unique identifier, a category, and a price. We assign random categories to each product. We generate random prices between $5 and $500. We print out the product dataset shape. We look at the first 3 products to understand the structure. Running the cell now. This output shows a product's data frame with 100 rows and 3 columns, product ID, category, and price, reflecting a typical retail product catalog structure. The variety in categories and price values illustrates realistic product diversity, which is essential for linking sales transactions to product details and calculating revenue accurately. This foundational dataset sets up correct handling of product attributes before deeper sales analysis. Practice. Which business questions could you answer with just a product catalog? We simulate a retail order dataset for 1,000 customer orders. Each order includes order ID, customer ID, product ID, quantity, and order date. We randomly assign customers and products to each order. Quantities range between 1 and 4 items per product. Order timestamps help us analyze seasonality and trends. We print out the order data size. We preview a few orders to check the structure. Running the cell now. This output shows a data frame with 1,000 rows and 5 columns, representing individual order line items for 1,000 unique orders. Notice the key columns. Order ID uniquely identifies each order, customer ID and product ID track who bought what, quantity shows how many units were purchased, and order date timestamps each transaction. This structure aligns with retail data principles, where each row corresponds to one product line in an order, laying the foundation for accurate revenue and sales analysis. Practice: why do retail orders need both customer and product identifiers? Let us begin with a basic sales aggregation. We count the number of unique invoices for each country. Running the cell now. Practice: how might you use this summary for allocating marketing budget by country? We print the top 5 countries by number of unique invoices to see which markets are most active. Running the cell now. This output shows the number of invoices per country, summarized from the sales data. Notice the large difference in invoice counts, with the United Kingdom having the majority, highlighting the datasets focus or market. This helps us understand grouping by country and counting orders correctly, a key step before calculating metrics like total revenue. Practice: are these the countries you would have expected? Let us calculate the total revenue from all transactions in the dataset. Revenue is quantity times price for each product purchased. Running the cell now. This output shows the total revenue calculated by multiplying quantity and price for every item sold, then summing across all transactions. Notice that the result, nearly £9.75 million, reflects the combined value of all sales in the dataset, emphasizing the importance of correctly handling quantities and prices to get accurate financial metrics. This step helps confirm that the basic revenue calculation logic is sound before moving on to more detailed analyses. Practice: what would cause revenue to be calculated incorrectly here? Now we will analyze revenue by product category. First, we merge the orders with product catalog to get the price and category of each product sold. Running the cell now. Practice: why is merging tables necessary before category-level analysis? We print the total sales revenue for each product category. Running the cell now. This output shows total revenue aggregated by product category, highlighting how much each category contributed to sales. Notice that sports and home categories lead in revenue, while clothing has the lowest, reflecting the importance of grouping by category to understand sales distribution across products. This aligns with the lesson's focus on correctly summing revenue by category to avoid misinterpretation. Practice: which category would you focus sales promotions on? Let us identify the 5 most active customers by total items purchased. We group orders by customer ID and sum the quantity. Running the cell now. This output shows the top 5 customers ranked by the total quantity of items they ordered, highlighting key repeat buyers in terms of volume. Notice how the grouping by customer ID correctly aggregates all line items per customer, avoiding double counting individual orders. This helps us understand customer purchase behavior and reinforces the importance of proper groupings in retail data analysis. Practice: how could you use this for a loyalty reward campaign? We analyze order trends by date. Grouping orders by day and counting unique orders gives us daily sales activity. Running the cell now. This output shows the number of unique orders placed each day over the first week of January 2023, with a consistent count of 24 orders daily. Notice the use of grouping by date and counting distinct order IDs to avoid double counting line items within the same order. This ensures accurate daily order counts, highlighting the importance of correct aggregation in retail datasets. Practice: what kind of business events could cause spikes in this daily trend? Now let us find the customers who generate the most revenue. We merge orders and products to get the product price, then calculate line-level revenue. After grouping and summing by customer ID, we print out the top 5 revenue contributors. These customers are extremely valuable to the business. Running the cell now. This output lists the top 5 customers ranked by total revenue, which was calculated by multiplying each product's price by quantity per order and then summing across all their purchases. Notice that grouping by customer ID accurately aggregates multiple line items per order, avoiding common mistakes like double counting or ignoring product details. This demonstrates how merging product info and correct grouping are key to analyzing retail sales performance. Practice: how would you target these high-value customers differently? Let us compute the average order value across all sales. We group the merged order data by order ID and sum the revenue for each order. The mean of these totals gives the average order value metric. AOV is a key measure for marketing and pricing strategies. Running the cell now. This output shows the average order value, AOV, calculated by first summing revenue per order, then averaging across all orders. Notice how grouping by order ID ensures that multiple line items per order are combined correctly, preventing under- or overestimation. This step is crucial to accurately reflect customer spending in retail data analysis. Practice: what would be the business impact if your AOV increases by 20%? We analyze how revenue changes week by week. Adding a week column helps track sales variation at a weekly level. Here are the first 3 weeks of total revenue. Running the cell now. This output shows the total revenue summed for the first 3 weeks of the year, highlighting how weekly grouping helps track sales trends over time. Notice the slight decline from week 1 to week 3, which reflects real fluctuations in orders and revenue. The code's intent is to demonstrate proper time-based aggregation by week, a key step to analyze retail performance beyond daily data. Practice: can you spot any signs of seasonality in your data's weekly revenue? Let us check the product catalog for missing prices. Missing price values can cause problems for revenue analysis. Here we print the number of products that do not have prices assigned. Running the cell now. This output shows there are 0 products with missing prices, confirming the dataset is complete in this key column. Noticing this helps ensure revenue calculations won't fail or be inaccurate due to missing price data. This check is essential for clean, reliable retail metrics before proceeding with further analysis. Practice: how can missing data affect sales calculations? We check for any orders that refer to product IDs not in our product catalog. This helps catch data mismatches or product deletions. We print out how many such invalid orders exist. Running the cell now. This output shows there are no orders referencing products missing from the product catalog, meaning all product IDs in orders are valid. This confirms data integrity between orders and products, which is crucial before calculating metrics like revenue or quantity. It highlights the importance of error handling to prevent aggregation errors or invalid joins in retail datasets. Practice: what should you do with orders linked to unknown products? Here is a common mistake: grouping revenue by product ID instead of category. This gives revenue per product, not per category. We print the number of grouped rows to spot this issue. Running the cell now. This output shows 99 grouped rows when summing revenue by a product ID, but since orders contain multiple products per order, grouping only by product ID misses the order context. The key point is to notice that this grouping ignores how products combine in each order, which can lead to incorrect revenue calculations. The lesson here is to ensure correct groupings, typically by order or order-product combinations, to accurately aggregate sales metrics. Practice: what is the correct way to group for category revenue? Let us segment customers into low, medium, and high activity based on cumulative quantity purchased. This helps target marketing to specific customer segments. We print a preview of customer segments. Running the cell now. This output shows the first 7 rows of orders with customers segmented by their cumulative quantity purchased into 3 groups: low, medium, and high. Notice that all initial rows fall into the low segment because the cumulative sum of quantities is still in the lower third. This segmentation helps illustrate how cumulative purchasing behavior can be used to categorize customers for targeted analysis or marketing strategies. Practice: how might you use customer segmentation to create personalized offers? Now we rank products by quantity sold to find the best sellers. This information is vital for inventory and supply chain planning. We print the IDs and quantities of the top 10 products sold. Running the cell now. This output shows the top 10 products by total quantity sold, highlighting which items are the most popular in terms of units moved. Notice how the products are sorted in descending order of quantity, helping inventory planners focus on high-demand items. This aggregation correctly sums quantities across all orders, avoiding common mistakes like overlooking multiple line items per order. Practice: what steps would you take if a top seller is out of stock for weeks? Market basket analysis helps reveal which product pairs are most often bought together. We group products by each order and count how often each product pair appears. Here are the top 5 most common product pairs. These insights can improve store layout and bundled offers. Running the cell now. The output is an empty list, indicating no product pairs were found in the grouped orders. This suggests that either the order ID groups contain only a single product each or the dataset might be empty or incomplete. The lesson here is to carefully inspect data structure and grouping logic to ensure multiple line items per order exist before performing pairwise analysis. Practice: how could this analysis benefit cross-selling strategies? Learn more with a YouTube search for the Market Basket Analysis Python. Forecasting demand helps predict inventory needs. We use a 4-week moving average to smooth out weekly fluctuations. Here are the first 5 rolling average values. Running the cell now. This output shows the 4-week moving average of weekly product quantities sold, smoothing demand fluctuations over time. Notice how the rolling mean aggregates quantity sums from the group-to-week data, highlighting general trends rather than weekly spikes or drops. This approach helps avoid common pitfalls like overreacting to single-week anomalies when forecasting retail demand. Practice: what are the limitations of using only historic sales for forecasting? Let us look at how revenue changes from month to month. This helps detect seasonal patterns in product demand. We print the monthly sales revenue totals. Running the cell now. This output shows the total revenue for January, month 1, and February, month 2, highlighting strong seasonality with January sales nearly 3 times higher. Notice how grouping by this month column correctly aggregates revenue across all orders, emphasizing the importance of proper data extraction and grouping in retail data. This helps identify peak sales periods for targeted business strategies. Practice: how should you plan marketing around seasonal dips or spikes? For a visual demo, look up Retail Sales Seasonality Python on YouTube. Now we will solve an end-to-end retail business question. We take our earlier analysis of best sellers and identify the top 3 products. We extract their details from the product catalog and print them. These products should be prioritized for restocking and promotion. Running the cell now. This output highlights the top 3 products identified by their sales performance, showing key columns like product ID, category, and price for stocking decisions. Notice how these products come from different categories, which helps diversify inventory focus. This connects to the lesson by demonstrating how to extract actionable insights from retail data by correctly filtering and interpreting grouped sales results. Practice: how would you present this recommendation to inventory managers?